Welcome the rare gems. A strong woman stands up for herself. A stronger woman stands alone and still thrives. Being a Sigma female isn't something you can pretend to be. It's not a title you claim. It's a way of being. While many try to fake confidence, independence, or mystery, a true Sigma female doesn't have to. Everything about her is real because it's inborn, built from experience, resilience, and an unshakable sense of self. In a world where people constantly seek validation, she stands apart. She doesn't need to broadcast her worth or prove herself to anyone. Her power isn't in how loudly she speaks, but in how deeply she understands herself. She moves differently, thinks differently, and lives by her own rules. That's what makes her rare. That's what makes her impossible to replicate. But make no mistake, this isn't an easy path. A Sigma female doesn't rely on a group for identity or lean on others for strength. She walks alone because she can, not because she has to. Her silence speaks volumes, her presence commands respect, and her ability to see through people unsettles those who hide behind masks. Many will try to imitate her confidence. Others will attempt to copy her detached nature. But what they fail to realize is that none of it is an act for her. Every trait she carries is a result of the battles she's fought, the lessons she's learned, and the self-mastery she's achieved. A Sigma female cannot be manufactured. She earns her place in the world. And that's why her traits are impossible to fake. Number 1. A genuine lack of fear when standing alone. Most people can talk a big game about independence until they find themselves truly alone. That's when the panic sets in. The need for validation, the craving for constant interaction, the discomfort of sitting with their own thoughts. But a Sigma female? She's built differently. She doesn't just tolerate solitude, she thrives in it. For her, being alone isn't a punishment. It's not something she dreads or tries to escape from. It's where she recharges, where she thinks clearly, and where she sharpens herself into an even stronger force. She doesn't need background noise or external approval to feel whole. Her confidence doesn't come from being surrounded by people. It comes from knowing that, even in absolute isolation, she's still unshakable. This kind of self-reliance is rare, and it's why she stands out. She's not afraid to walk away from toxic relationships, one-sided friendships, or situations that drain her. She doesn't cling to people out of fear of being alone. She chooses her connections carefully, knowing she's perfectly fine on her own, and that scares people. Most are used to leveraging guilt, pressure, or social norms to keep others attached. But she's immune to all of it. You can't manipulate someone who isn't afraid of solitude. You can't control someone who doesn't need a crowd to feel validated. This is why she operates with such quiet power. She moves differently because she doesn't make decisions out of fear or loneliness. Every choice she makes is intentional, not desperate. Every relationship she keeps is one she wants, not one she needs. While others are terrified of being left out, she walks alone without hesitation, and in doing so, she proves a truth that most people can't handle. Real strength isn't found in numbers. It's found in the ability to stand tall, even when no one else is standing with you. Number 2, laser-like focus on what truly matters. A Sigma female moves through life with a level of focus that most people can't even comprehend. She doesn't waste time on things that don't serve her, entertain pointless drama, or engage in empty conversations just to fill the silence. Her mind is like a sniperscope, zeroed in on what actually matters, cutting through the noise with ruthless precision. She's not the type to chase trends, gossip about others, or seek validation from the crowd. While most people scatter their energy in 1,000 directions, constantly distracted by social media, meaningless small talk, or shallow relationships, she remains locked in. If it's not pushing her forward, she doesn't entertain it. If it's not aligned with her values, she lets it go. And if someone or something is draining her energy, she cuts it off without hesitation. This is what makes her so different. People often mistake her silence for disinterest, her distance for arrogance. But in reality, she's simply choosing where her energy goes. She knows that time is the one thing you can never get back, and she refuses to waste it on anything that doesn't serve her long-term vision. This kind of focus makes her unstoppable. When she sets a goal, she becomes relentless. Obstacles don't intimidate her, setbacks don't break her, and distractions don't tempt her. She doesn't wait for the right moment or seek permission. She moves forward with quiet, unshakable determination. And here's the thing. People who lack discipline can't stand being around her. She makes them uncomfortable because she's a mirror that exposes their own distractions and lack of direction. They don't understand how she can operate with such clarity, such purpose, such intensity. But that's the difference. While others are busy trying to impress the world, she's busy building hers. And nothing, not opinions, not excuses, not fleeting temptations, will ever pull her off course. Number 3. An authenticity that can't be replicated. There's something about a Sigma woman that makes people take a second look, not because she's trying to stand out, but because she can't be anything other than herself. In a world where most people mold themselves to fit in, she does the opposite. She doesn't edit her personality to be more likable. She doesn't tone herself down to make others comfortable. What you see is exactly who she is, unapologetic, unfiltered, and deeply real. This level of authenticity is rare because most people are performing. They tweak their opinions depending on who's listening. They adjust their behavior based on who's watching. But a high-value woman, she doesn't have the energy for pretense. She says what she means what she says, and lets her actions do the talking. What makes her so different is that her personality isn't crafted, it's forged. She has lived, struggled, and earned every piece of wisdom she carries. Her confidence isn't borrowed from social media trends or self-help books. It's built from the battles she's fought and won. And because of that, no one can imitate her. They can try. But something will always feel off because authenticity isn't a look, a vibe, or an attitude. It's a foundation. And hers is unshakable. People sense this. It's why they're drawn to her, but also why she intimidates them. Those who live behind masks feel exposed around her because she doesn't play the same game. She doesn't entertain fake friendships. She doesn't tolerate manipulative tactics. And she definitely doesn't shrink herself to fit into someone else's expectations. This kind of authenticity is impossible to fake because it's not about effort. It's about essence. It's who she is when no one's watching. It's the quiet self-respect in her choices, the unwavering strength in her presence, and the undeniable power of knowing she doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. Number 4. The ability to shift from warmth to ice in an instant. A Sigma female is not the type to wear her heart on her sleeve for just anyone. She has a natural warmth that draws people in. She listens deeply, offers genuine support, and can make someone feel like the most important person in the room. But make no mistake, this warmth is not a weakness, it is a privilege. And once you show her that you don't respect it, the door slams shut, permanently. This isn't the kind of woman who engages in emotional back and forth, wasting time explaining why she's done. There are no heated arguments, no desperate attempts to make someone see their mistake. When she reaches her limit, she simply switches off. One moment, she's engaging, maybe even playful. The next, a wall of ice, no more eye contact, no more energy wasted. It's as if she never knew you. What makes this so unsettling to people is that it's not performative, it's real. She does not fake detachment to manipulate. She genuinely feels nothing once the line has been crossed. This ability isn't about being cold-hearted. It's about self-respect. She has already done the emotional math, and if she determines that someone is draining, toxic, or simply unworthy of her presence, she removes herself without hesitation. And here's the kicker. There are no second chances. Society teaches people that if they plead hard enough, apologize sweetly enough, or just wait long enough, they'll be let back in. Not with her. Once she detaches, it's final. The warmth you once felt, gone. The access you once had, revoked. And that's what makes her so powerful. This kind of emotional discipline is impossible to fake. It's not a game, it's a survival skill. It's the reason she moves through life without unnecessary baggage, without wasted energy on people who don't deserve it. And it's exactly why she is so rare. Number 5. A piercing gaze that doesn't just observe, it dissects. There's something unsettling about the way a high-value woman looks at people. It's not the usual glance or casual eye contact. It's deeper, sharper, almost surgical. Her gaze doesn't just see you, it studies you, breaking you down into pieces before you even say a word. And for those with something to hide, it's downright terrifying. She has a natural ability to pick up on the smallest details, the slight hesitation in someone's voice, the forced enthusiasm, the micro-expressions that betray their real emotions. She doesn't just notice what's being said, she registers what's not being said. And that's where her power lies. People who are used to hiding behind masks feel exposed in her presence. They fidget, stumble over their words, or try to change the subject. They know, somehow, she knows. Maybe they were planning to manipulate, lie, or exaggerate, but now, under her gaze, they feel naked. Because she doesn't just listen to words, she dissects intention. This ability isn't something she brags about or even talks about. It's not a trick. It's second nature. Years of observing, learning, and understanding human behavior have refined her instincts to a razor's edge. She's not easily deceived, and she never falls for surface-level charm. But here's what makes it even more powerful. She doesn't always call it out. Sometimes she just lets people dig their own graves, watching as they tie themselves in knots trying to maintain their act. She doesn't need to confront. Her mere presence is enough to make liars uncomfortable. This is why people either respect her or fear her, because they know they can't fool her. Her eyes don't just scan a room, they command it. And the truth is, when you stand in front of a woman like this, you have only two choices: be real or be exposed. There's no in-between. Number 6, the power to make silence feel loud. Most people can't handle silence. They fidget, ramble, or scramble to fill the empty space with meaningless chatter. But a high-value woman, she owns silence. She doesn't just sit in it. She makes it heavy, electric, almost deafening. She doesn't waste words or talk just to be heard. When she speaks, it's intentional. Every sentence carries weight, and every pause holds meaning. But it's her silence that unnerves people the most. A single glance, a measured pause, or the simple act of not responding can send a stronger message than an entire conversation, and people feel it. If someone disrespects her, she won't argue. She'll let her silence remind them of the line they just crossed. If someone is fishing for attention, she won't entertain them. She'll let the emptiness of her response make them squirm. And if she's unimpressed, she won't fake a reaction. She'll just look, unblinking, as if she's seeing right through the performance. This is why people either respect her or fear her. She doesn't need to prove a point. She lets people feel it instead. And the truth is, silence can be far more powerful than words. It exposes insecurity, forces reflection, and demands attention in a way noise never could. Most people talk too much because they're afraid of being misunderstood. But she doesn't fear being misunderstood. She fears wasting energy on those who refuse to understand. That's why when she goes quiet, it's not because she has nothing to say, it's because she's already said enough. And in those moments, when the room feels heavier and people start second-guessing themselves, one thing becomes clear. Her presence alone is a conversation. And when she chooses silence, it's never empty. It's a statement. Number 7. They try to break your independence with fake vulnerability. Some men have figured out that dominance doesn't work on you. Flashing wealth, status, or confidence doesn't make you bat an eye. Acting aloof, that just makes you lose interest faster. So when all else fails, they switch tactics. They try vulnerability, but not the real kind. No, this is strategic vulnerability. A carefully designed performance meant to lower your guard. They'll suddenly open up about deep insecurities, past heartbreaks, or personal struggles, not because they trust you, but because they want to make you trust them. They think it's a shortcut to emotional control, that if they expose their wounds, you'll feel obligated to do the same. That if they show weakness, you'll instinctively step in, comfort them, and, most importantly, let them in. The irony? You see right through it. You've been around long enough to know the difference between genuine openness and manipulation disguised as honesty. Real vulnerability is unguarded, messy, and comes with no expectations. But this feels rehearsed, timed, like a baited hook waiting for you to bite. And when you don't, that's when the cracks start to show. You'll notice how their vulnerability disappears the moment they don't get what they want. How their openness was only ever a tool, not a true connection. And how instead of accepting that you're not easy to sway, they get frustrated, like a magician whose trick just got exposed. The truth is, your independence isn't something that needs breaking. You don't withhold emotions out of fear. You're just selective, intentional. You don't pour your energy into people who expect vulnerability instead of earning it. So let them try. Let them share their sob stories and look at you expectantly, waiting for you to unravel. Because the real test isn't whether a man can open up. It's whether he can handle the fact that you won't open up just because he wants you to. Number 8. An almost uncanny ability to read people. Some people rely on words to understand others. A high-value woman, she doesn't need them. She can walk into a room and feel the energy shift. She catches the slight hesitation in someone's voice, the flicker of discomfort in their eyes, the micro-expressions they don't even realize they're making. And before they've even finished a sentence, she already knows. This isn't guesswork. It's not some party trick. It's a finely tuned ability built through experience, observation, and an instinct that rarely, if ever, fails her. She sees past the surface, past the fake smiles, the forced confidence, the carefully constructed facades. While most people take things at face value, she dissects what's beneath the surface, detecting hidden insecurities, unspoken motives, and concealed emotions with unnerving accuracy. This is why manipulative people find her intimidating. They can't figure out why their usual tactics don't work on her, why she seems immune to their charm, their sob stories, their deception. The truth? She's already sized them up within seconds. She doesn't just listen to what people say. She analyzes why they're saying it, what they're avoiding, and what their body language betrays. And here's the kicker. She doesn't always expose what she knows. Sometimes she lets people dig their own graves, watching as they weave their lies, unaware that she's already 10 steps ahead. She doesn't need to call them out immediately. She just waits, letting them think they're in control, while she silently gathers everything she needs to confirm her instincts. But if you're genuine, she'll see that too. She respects honesty, appreciates authenticity, and gravitates toward those who don't feel the need to pretend. She's not cold, she's just sharp. And that's the difference. You can fool many people in this world, but her? Never. Because by the time you've decided what mask to wear, she's already seen your real face. Number 9. An aura of mystery that isn't manufactured. Most people who try to be mysterious fail miserably. They drop cryptic hints, act distant on purpose, or play mind games to keep others guessing. But a high-value woman, she doesn't try to be mysterious. It's just who she is. She doesn't overshare. She doesn't broadcast every detail of her life for attention. And she certainly doesn't feel the need to explain herself to anyone. This natural self-containment creates a presence that is undeniably intriguing. People want to know more, but she only reveals what she chooses, when she chooses. And that's what sets her apart. Most people spill their thoughts and emotions freely, desperate to be understood, but she understands something they don't. Mystery isn't about what you say, it's about what you don't say. She leaves gaps, and those gaps make people curious. They lean in, trying to piece together who she really is, but they never quite get the full picture. This isn't a game for her. She's not withholding to manipulate. She simply values her privacy. She believes that not everything needs to be shared, that some things are meant to be kept sacred. In a world where everyone is desperate for attention, her quiet confidence stands out. And here's the irony. The less she tries to impress people, the more drawn they are to her. The less she reveals, the more they crave to understand her. But she never lets them all the way in. Not because she's cold, but because she knows her worth. She doesn't need validation, and that independence only adds to her allure. People talk about her, speculate about her, wonder what's going on in her mind. But the truth, they'll never fully know. Because while the world is busy trying to be seen, she remains comfortably unseen, watching, choosing, and moving on her own terms. Number 10. A natural disruptor of fake hierarchies. In a world where people bow to titles, fake status, and empty authority, a high-value woman walks in like a quiet storm and instantly disrupts the entire game. She doesn't submit to power just because someone demands it. She doesn't play along with unearned authority. And she sure as hell doesn't respect a hierarchy built on fear, manipulation, or blind obedience. She sees through it all, the fragile egos, the fake confidence, the desperate need for control. And because she refuses to play along, those who thrive on dominance find her presence deeply unsettling. She's the one who won't laugh at the boss's weak joke just to stay on his good side, the one who won't follow pointless rules just because that's how it's always been done, the one who won't flatter or shrink herself to make a so-called leader feel powerful. And that's the real threat. She isn't rebellious for the sake of it, she's simply immune to manipulation. She won't pretend to be impressed by someone just because they hold a higher position. If they lack true wisdom, strength, or integrity, she sees right through them. This makes her dangerous to those who rely on submission to maintain control. They expect compliance, deference, or at least silent agreement, but instead they get a woman who won't be intimidated, who questions everything, and who refuses to follow weak leadership. And here's the irony. Real leaders, the ones with true strength and vision, respect her. They recognize that she isn't difficult, she's discerning. They see that she doesn't seek power, she simply refuses to be powerless. So, while fake hierarchies tremble at her presence, real authority takes notice. Because she doesn't need a title to lead. She doesn't need permission to challenge. And she doesn't need validation to know her worth. She exists outside the system, and that's what makes her impossible to control. Number 11. A mind that sees 10 steps ahead. While most people are stuck in the moment, reacting to whatever life throws at them, a high-value woman operates on a completely different level. She doesn't just see what's happening now, she sees where things are going. She's not just thinking about the next move, she's already calculating the ripple effects of every choice, every conversation, every shift in energy around her. This isn't paranoia, it's strategy. She has an almost instinctive ability to predict outcomes because she observes, deeply, quietly, and with precision. She studies people, patterns, and behavior, picking up on details that others miss. By the time someone thinks they're about to get the upper hand on her, she's already 10 steps ahead, watching them fall into a trap they didn't even see coming. This is why manipulation doesn't work on her. You can't deceive someone who has already played out every scenario in her mind. You can't pressure her into impulsive decisions because she's already weighed the consequences. You can't shake her with sudden surprises because chances are she saw them coming long before they arrived. People often mistake her calmness for passivity, but that's where they go wrong. She doesn't react emotionally because she doesn't need to. She knows exactly when to strike, when to walk away, and when to let others think they're winning, only to outmaneuver them at the last second. And this mindset isn't just for defense, it's how she builds her life. While others are chasing short-term wins, she's constructing a foundation for long-term success. While they waste time on meaningless distractions, she's making moves that will put her ahead years from now. By the time the rest of the world catches up to what she was thinking, she's already moved on to the next level. And that's why no one ever truly sees her coming, until it's too late. The unshakable core of a Sigma female. You don't become a Sigma female by trying to fit into a mold, because there is no mold for you. You aren't built from borrowed personalities or shaped by the expectations of others. Every trait that makes you who you are, your independence, your ability to walk alone, your sharp intuition, comes from something real. And that's why it can't be faked. In a world that constantly pressures people to seek validation, to follow the crowd, and to shrink themselves for approval, you remain untamed. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone because you already know it. You don't waste energy explaining yourself to those who will never understand. You let your presence do the talking. But this path isn't always easy. Being a Sigma female means embracing a level of solitude most people fear. It means having the strength to make tough decisions, to walk away from anything that doesn't align with your values, and to stand firm even when the world pushes against you. It means being misunderstood at times, even resented, because your confidence and self-reliance challenge the status quo. But here's the truth. This life isn't for everyone. It's for the rare, the unbreakable, the ones who own who they are without apology. You are not meant to blend in. You are meant to move differently, think differently, and lead your life on your own terms. So never doubt the path you walk. The world needs more women who refuse to be controlled, who trust their instincts, and who are fearless in their authenticity. That's you. And that's why you're impossible to fake. Thank you for watching The Rare Gems, and God bless you.